Brian Dutcher, San Diego State men's basketball coach. He coached Malachi Flynn to a 30-2 record this past year. Brian, thanks so much for doing this. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, guys. And San Diego State's been good to the Raptors between Kawhi Leonard and hopefully now Malachi. That's a good positive thing.
Very
yes,
good.
It is. Yeah, we're big fans of San Diego State up here. Yeah, man, I gotta say, like, I had doing some cursory research on the first round of the NBA draft and where the Raptors were going to pick. Like, Flynn was a name not unfamiliar to me, and was excited about the possibility of the Raptors drafting him. But I had no idea exactly what we would see. And I know it's only 2 preseason games, but we've heard it now, I think, multiple times from people who have talked about him on this show that, okay, he's not 6'4", 6'5", but he's a guard at 6'1", maybe the undersized nature of him, that's part of why he went 29. But man, there's a middle of the first round talent there at least. What did you think when you saw him drop to 29?
I thought, I was happy he went in the first round. I mean, you never know with the draft. So much of it is athleticism, potential, and sometimes guys that are more ready to play immediately get passed over for long-term promise. And I thought when I watched Malachi, I watched both exhibition games. I thought he looked like he fit in and belonged right away. Just the pace he plays with, the intelligence. And that's one thing coaches can't give players. We can't give them an IQ. We can teach them how to play, but some guys just have a basketball IQ, and Malachi has a basketball IQ.
Yeah, and this is going to be a really difficult, initiation for this class of rookies. You don't have summer league. You have an abbreviated preseason. So I'm actually surprised that someone who is an upperclassman, who was a team leader, wasn't appreciated a little bit more in the draft given the realities of this season. Based on his professionalism as an amateur, how ready do you think Malachi is to be able to impact the team in the rotation day one as the season starts next week?
I think he's ready to go. I mean, obviously we all saw bits and pieces of that. And we're not talking about a guy you're saying you're going to throw into the starting lineup and he's going to have to carry the load. I think everybody feels good about Malachi because you throw him in there with the second unit when the first unit's out and you feel like, wow, we're going to still function at a really high level. And so much of those NBA games is about the second unit building a lead, maintaining a lead, playing the right way. And I think with Malachi out there with whoever they put him with, they'll play the right way.
Yeah, you mentioned how he looked and the poise and the game not speeding him up. Like, where did that come from? And was it something that he developed, or the first time you saw him, he stepped onto the court with you, and that was there? It was just an innate thing.
He's got, I always say, if swagger is a skill, he's got that. He knows he's good. He knows he belongs. He plays with great confidence. And the thing he does is, he did for us is, even though he was our best player, he didn't feel he had to score all the time. He got his teammates involved. He ran the team. And then there'd be a 4 or 5 minute stretch where he'd go 3-3 runner, and he'd have 10 points in 3 minutes. So he's not out there hunting a shot. He's out there playing the right way, but he's not afraid to, when the opportunity presents itself, go basket, to turn his offensive game loose at times.
Fred VanVleet has already talked about the fact that, smart, asks the right questions, is not too big to do the rookie duties and just kind of, has quickly known his place but earned respect among the group. But, Fred has been literally a draft comp, but a nice player to have beside him. How able will Malachi be to play alongside another point guard, whether it's Fred or Kyle, in a two-guard lineup, and play some off the ball, spot up, guard bigger guards? How big a part of that being part of his game?
I think that was one of the Raptors' biggest concerns, was what was he going to be defensively? Because everybody on an NBA roster finds that guy that they don't think can guard, and they go at him. But I think Malachi showed in his first 2 games that he's not that guy. He plays with great toughness. He was the defensive player of the year in our conference. So they look at the size and they say, well, he's only 6'1" or 2. He's not big enough. They're going to go at him. I think he's got toughness and intelligence where he knows how to play angles. He knows how to put his body in front of people, and I don't think he'll be that guy. And then the Raptors, they didn't play Lowry and Van Vliet together early in their careers, and then all of a sudden they were a great combination. And so I think at some point Malachi will be able to play alongside either one of those guys.
Yeah, no, we've seen a bit of the defense early on, and yeah, it's been impressive, his footwork. What about the offensive arsenal? And we've seen him shoot the three extremely well. We know that's part of it. What else do you think he has in his bag of tricks as far as on the offensive end?
I mean, I think he can create space, which you have to do it if you're only 6'2". You're going against bigger defenders, so you have to have an ability to create your own space, and I think Malachi can do that. And then his passing ability is why they took him, I'm sure. His assist to turnovers, I think he was 3-1 for us, assist to turnovers, and so his playmaking ability. So I don't think they took him and said, this is a guy that's going to carry the offensive load. I think they took him because he's a guy that plays the right way, plays with a high IQ, will get his teammates involved, but you can't leave him. If you lose him, he's going to shoot the three. So he's a really good playmaker, and I think that's what they like best about him.
Malachi is, the most recent in a long line of types of players the Raptors have cornered and looked at. There's the Miami Heat type of player, certainly a San Antonio Spurs type of player, and the Raptors are now building that brand. And whether it was OG Anunoby or Pascal Siakam or Fred VanVleet, now Malachi, not people who were first team All-Americans necessarily, but people that got certainly the most out of their talents. Do you think we need to, as an industry in terms of the draft, change the way we're evaluating prospects and change maybe the metrics that we're using to evaluate them and the things that we weigh in value in terms of what will determine if they have successful pro careers?
I mean, obviously athleticism is important, but I don't think it's as important as instincts. You have to have great instincts, and you have to watch a lot of basketball to see if a kid has instincts or not. You can't fall in love with a highlight film. That's like recruiting at our level. Everybody sends us highlights of kids, and who doesn't look good on a highlight tape? But we've had success recruiting because we spend the time to watch play a lot of games to make sure they're about the right things. And I think the Raptors did their homework. They watched Malachi at length, determined that his IQ and his ability on the floor matched what they wanted to do, and they did their homework, and they got a really good player.
You mentioned your recruiting. And you mentioned the fact that San Diego State has certainly been good to the Raptors and good to Canada. Well, of late, Canada has been really, really good to the NCAA. As you're doing recruiting and looking at the prospects coming out in the future classes, what are you seeing in the marketplace in terms of Canadian players that have not only been able to play mid-major level, Power 5 conferences, but also play earlier in their careers and make an impact?
Yeah, well, we've had Nolan Narain, graduated last year. He was from the Toronto area and had a great career with us. And obviously we're paying attention to a lot of Canadian players. There's a big kid now in Canada, I can't say by name, that we're recruiting and trying to do it via Zoom, obviously. But, no, Canada continues to try out great players and benefit to both Canada and to the people over there develop them.
Talking to Brian Dutcher, San Diego State men's basketball coach. I coached Malachi Flynn a season ago, and back to Flynn for just a second. Brian, we heard Fred VanVleet after, I think, the second preseason game talk about how deadly a combination it can be when you're humble enough to ask questions, but then, as you said, have the skill of swagger and execute it on the court. I mean, how unusual is that? I mean, you've seen plenty of guys go through your program to have that combination of, you got to have incredible confidence, obviously, to reach those heights, but still be super coachable, still understand that you don't have all the answers.
Yeah, obviously we played Malachi first. He was at Washington State. We went against him. He put 25 on us. So when he showed up on the transfer market, we were going to go in there. We took video of his play and show him how we were going to make him better. And then I went in there and watched the video. I'm like, oh, holy crap, he can already play. How am I going to make him better? But he already had the instincts and the ability to make plays. But we went in there and told him that we were going to put the ball in his hands. We were going to let him make decisions. We were going to live and die with what he did with the ball. And that's what good players do. You put in your best players' hands, and they make plays to win or lose games. and we ended up winning 30 games and only losing 2. So he carried the load. He got his teammates involved. When it was required to score, he scored. And the thing we do in our program, you have to guard if you're going to play at San Diego State. We really emphasize defense. And so if he grew his game at all under us, it was probably more at the defensive end. And maybe that benefited him now, playing ball screens and getting into the ball and playing the right way defensively. Maybe that's his greatest growth when he was with us at the defensive end.
So we're just at the doorstep of the end of 2020, and this has been, an odd year on many fronts, and sports certainly is one. And we didn't have an NCAA tournament a year ago, and this NCAA season is certainly much different than it's been in the past. We've heard Coach K talk about, the fact that maybe, we shouldn't be playing, basketball, and given the toll it's taking on kids, both physically and mentally. What has this season been like, and what are, the new challenges or new things that you're learning about yourself and your team going into, what has been an abnormal season?
We just try to celebrate every day we can be on the floor, because we know in an instant we could be shut down. And so we have to be flexible. Whatever the schedule is, we know it could change overnight. And we've been pretty fortunate. Our whole athletic department got shut down at the start of school for 14 days. Since then, we've run a pretty normal existence. We're working out in the morning individually, then we're building the team in the afternoon. And we've played our regular schedule, and we're off to a good start. We're 5-0. We got wins over UCLA, Arizona State, and we have a big game against BYU. But it's been as normal as it can be. With that being said, I'm not naive enough to know that I could go to work today, one of the players could show up positive, and we could be on a 14-day pause. So we're just trying to celebrate every day we can be on the floor and just take advantage